Now, as I mentioned, James Monroe began this estate by buying 1,000 acres of land for $1,000 in 1793. You'll remember he had originally come to this part of Virginia in 1789, primarily to be close to his friend and mentor in the law, Jefferson, and the first land Monroe owned around here, the area where the main grounds of the University of Virginia stand today. Monroe built that original 1,000 acres up into an estate of about 3,500 acres. He normally kept 400 to 500 acres under cultivation. It is very important to remember this was a working estate. Monroe did not come from a wealthy background. He needed to make a profit here, tried a variety of crops in order to do that. He tried wheat crops, tobacco, he had a vineyard, he tried raising sheep. Much of his land was forested, so he was involved in timber. Anything to make this a going concern. As I say, a lot of activity would have gone on out here. Right over here, then as now, there was an herb garden, and over there was the well. That little well house sits either exactly on or very close to the site of the well in Monroe's day. Behind that white fence, Monroe had an ice house, and we recently completed a reproduction of that ice house. Down there to the far right is an original building. That building down there goes back to 1818. When the Monroes were here, it was originally built to be a place for itinerant workers like peddlers or cobblers to stay. Later on, after the Monroes left here, that building became primarily the plantation office of this estate. The large building in the center is a reconstruction based on archaeological and photographic evidence. That was the quarters of the domestic slaves. 3 families probably lived in there, about a dozen people altogether. At various times, the Monroes owned totals of slaves here, ranging from a total of 15 to a total of 50. The field slaves had huts or cabins closer to their place of work. They would not have had the close contact with the Monroe family that the domestic slaves had. Small building to the immediate right, the most recent restoration here at Highland, that was the smokehouse. And I wanted to be sure to point out to you this beautiful white oak tree. This tree is about 250 years of age, right over here, 250 years of age. It's the oldest tree on the estate, was almost surely here when the Monroes were here, and it's the only tree of which we could say that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings this part of the tour to a close. I'd like to invite you to feel free to look around the grounds as much as you would like. We have